Have you ever just stopped and audited your own daily routines?
Oh, I try not to. It's usually a little depressing.
Right. But like, if you really look at how much of your life is spent trying to just hoard your intangible resources.
Hmm. Like time and energy.
Exactly. I don't just mean packing money into a savings account or, buying property. Think about your physical stamina, your emotional bandwidth, even just your baseline psychological resilience.
Yeah, we really do guard those things, don't we?
We do. You likely structure your entire day around stockpiling these resources, just constantly guarding your internal reserves to maintain this feeling of security.
Right, because the instinct to accumulate is basically the bedrock of almost every human survival strategy.
Yeah.
And, I mean, that extends seamlessly into how we approach self-development, too. We're completely conditioned to view depletion as, like, the ultimate vulnerability.
Complete.
And in the realm of classical spiritual disciplines, this translates directly into preservation. Whether you look at classical Taoist internal alchemy or early Buddhist monastic codes or really any various ascetic traditions, the golden rule is always the same.
Build it up.
Right. Build and fiercely protect a massive reservoir of internal power. Because accumulation equals elevation.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the text we are diving into today takes an absolute sledgehammer to that exact paradigm.
It really does. It's wild.
It's so fascinating. We are analyzing a piece written by an author named Xu Feng. This was published back in May 2013, and it's titled Practitioners Should Not Accumulate Material Energy.
Yeah, and the thesis of this text, it doesn't just offer, like, a slight adjustment to Eastern philosophy.
No, not at all.
It completely inverts the classical architecture of self-cultivation. It literally argues that the very act of hoarding your energy is the exact mechanism that's preventing your spiritual elevation.
Which just sounds so counterintuitive at first.
Yeah, right. But to fully grasp the magnitude of Shui Fen's argument, we need to first isolate who he's actually talking to.
The audience matters here.
Exactly. The text draws a very hard line between ordinary human survival and the pursuit of higher life spaces.
Which he terms as becoming a celestial being or a Buddha, right?
Yes. So if someone is just struggling to secure basic food, clothing, or shelter, survival.
Yeah, paying rent.
Right. In that case, accumulating material energy isn't just acceptable. It is a mandatory biological imperative.
You have to do it.
You have to. The philosophical pivot only happens the moment a person decides they want to transcend that baseline human experience.
Okay, and the text introduces this really fascinating paradox for those specific practitioners, which is that true spiritual breakthroughs, those moments of profound clarity or enlightenment, they almost never occur when your energy is at its peak.
Right.
They actually happen when your material and physical reserves are entirely depleted.
Which goes against everything we're taught.
Literally everything. Suefeng points to the phenomenon of these ambitious, highly driven individuals, the people who command boardrooms, accumulate vast wealth, just radiate dominance.
The alphas.
Exactly, the alphas. But when a person like that falls critically ill, their entire worldview completely fractures.
Yeah.
The text uses this great proverb, as a person nears death, their words become kind.
And what's fascinating here is the psychological mechanics behind that shift.
Yeah.
Because the human ego, it is an incredibly expensive construct to maintain.
Expensive in terms of energy.
Right. It requires a continuous, massive influx of material energy.
Mm-hmm.
You need wealth to signal superiority.
Right?
Oh. You need physical vitality to enforce dominance.
Yeah.
You need emotional armor just to deflect criticism.
It's exhausting just thinking about it.
It is.
Yeah.
So when severe illness or, impending death drains those reserves, the ego essentially starves.
Wow.
It just lacks the caloric and psychological fuel required to project all those illusions.
It just drops away.
Exactly. When the defense mechanisms collapse due to pure exhaustion, the person's authentic, unadorned, kind essence is basically forced to the surface.
That makes me think of, think about the operating system of a smartphone. When it hits that terrifying 1% battery.
More panic mode.
Right, but the device immediately enters a critical survival mode. The screen dims, the location tracking stops.
Yeah, everything just shuts down.
Exactly. All the background applications, the social media notifications, the constant syncing of data, they are all forcibly terminated. It strips away every single luxury to preserve the absolute bare bones essential functions.
That's a perfect analogy.
And Shuefeng is describing that exact algorithmic shutdown, but applied to the human soul.
Yes.
Depletion forces absolute clarity because you literally cannot afford the energy cost of maintaining your worldly distractions anymore.
Right. And it redefines our whole understanding of enlightenment because we typically view spiritual elevation as this additive process.
Like leveling up in a video game.
Exactly. Something you build up to through years of rigorous meditation and study and hoarding energy. But Xuefeng suggests it is actually a subtractive process.
Right.
You reach a heightened state of awareness, not by gaining some new mystical insight, but simply because you lack the energy to be anything other than your most fundamental, authentic self.
The material noise is just muted by force.
Exactly.
Okay, so if extreme depletion serves as the trigger for peeling back the ego, we have to look at the other end of the spectrum.
The abundance side.
Right. What does a massive abundance of material energy actually do to the practitioner? The text argues that being perpetually plugged into the wall, sitting at 100% energy, it acts as a permanent anchor.
It weighs you down.
Yes.
Right.
Weifeng actually cites that famous quote from Jesus regarding the rich man, the camel, and the eye of the needle.
Right, right. It is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Which, you're likely well-versed in the biblical context of that, but analyzing it purely through the lens of thermodynamics completely changes the meaning.
It really does.
The accumulated material energy literally makes you too dense to pass into a higher state of being.
And Xuefeng illustrates this density with his unapologetically blunt analogy. He asks us to imagine providing a dog with an endless mountain of bones and meat.
Which sounds like a dream for the dog.
Oh, a total dream. You are granting this animal an infinite supply of material energy, but the result, of course, is not an evolutionary leap.
Right.
The dog doesn't, transform into a mythical dragon.
No, it just eats.
Yeah. The mountain of bones merely reinforces its canine nature. The dog observes its immense comfort, decides that the canine realm is flawless, and it just loses any conceivable incentive to seek a higher reality.
Okay, but here's where it gets really interesting, and I feel like I have to challenge this framework from the perspective of modern mindfulness.
Go for it.
Because the entire architecture of contemporary self-improvement and even, secular Buddhism, it's all aimed at achieving profound contentment in the present moment.
Right. Being present.
Right, so if someone successfully builds their mountain of bones, achieves a beautifully regulated nervous system, and finds absolute peace within their human existence, why does Xuefeng categorize that as a failure?
It's a great question.
It just sounds like he is demanding a perpetual state of divine discontent. Why is optimizing the human realm and being a content dog a bad thing?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the friction there lies in the ultimate objective of the practitioner. You are evaluating success based on the metrics of the human realm.
Okay, like comfort and stability.
Exactly. Comfort, stability, psychological peace. If the goal is simply a well-adjusted human life, then yes, the mountain of bones is absolutely the victory condition.
You've won the game.
You've won the human game. However, Xuefeng's philosophy is strictly directed at those attempting to exit the human realm entirely to access higher dimensions of existence.
Oh, okay.
So in his framework, comfort is an anesthetic.
Wow, an answer.
Yeah. Total contentment with the material world eradicates the spiritual hunger required for true elevation. By optimizing your human existence, you are basically trading the infinite potential of your consciousness for a highly temporary, localized comfort.
So you become a captive of your own success.
Precisely.
The sheer gravity of your accumulated resources prevents any upward mobility.
Yes, gravity is the perfect word for it.
And that concept of gravity leads us directly into what is arguably the most radical and definitely the most controversial deconstruction in the entire text.
Oh, without a doubt.
We have to look at how Xuefeng handles physical vitality, because he doesn't just categorize external assets like real estate or currency as material energy.
No, he goes much further.
He explicitly defines human vitality, sexual essence, and semen as material energy.
Yes.
And because it falls into that material category, it is subject to the exact same rule, meaning hoarding it is highly destructive to the spiritual practitioner.
And this is a direct, unapologetic collision with literally thousands of years of monastic tradition.
Oh, completely.
Within asceticism, you have practices like brahmacharya in Hinduism, or various strict monastic codes across the world. They all dictate that sexual energy is the most concentrated, vital life force a human possesses.
Right, the ultimate resource.
Exactly. And the classical doctrine states that by strictly repressing this energy, it gets forced upward. It transmutes into profound spiritual power and cognitive clarity.
But Sweffing says no.
Sweffing looks at that widely accepted mechanism
Yeah.
and just declares it fundamentally flawed.
Mhm.
He argues that the energy cannot be transmuted in that way because it is strictly biological. It's strictly material.
And he sets up this stark side-by-side comparison of the actual observable outcomes, like what happens when you hoard this energy versus when you release it.
Yeah.
And his diagnosis of non-consumption, which is, the text's clinical term for strict celibacy and repression, his diagnosis is brutal.
It really is.
He doesn't describe the celibate monk as some serene, enlightened figure. He argues that hoarding this physical energy creates an intensely irritable temper and a fundamentally unbalanced mind.
Right, because it creates a closed thermodynamic system.
Where the energy has nowhere to go.
Exactly. The energy has nowhere to go, so it stagnates, and eventually it turns toxic.
Yikes.
The text outlines the immense cognitive dissonance that is required just to maintain that state.
Mhm.
When a practitioner hoards physical vitality, they're essentially engaged in a perpetual, exhausting war against their own biological imperatives.
You're fighting your own body.
Constantly.
Yeah.
So they become easily lost in intrusive thoughts, their focus fractures, and their entire spiritual practice degrades into this mechanism of self-suppression.
So instead of meditating on, the vastness of the universe.
Their consciousness narrows.
Yeah.
It becomes entirely consumed by the effort required to just deny their own nature. They are essentially white-knuckling their spirituality.
Oh, white-knuckling it. That is such a vivid image. And the psychological fallout of that suppression is fascinating. Sweffing claims that this internal friction causes a person to subconsciously reject beauty in the external world. Because their present reality is defined by such rigid denial, they lose their longing for a vibrant future.
Yeah, it dims their whole perspective.
It does. And the contrast he provides with the active consumption or release of this energy is striking. He acknowledges the biological reality, right? Physical intimacy consumes energy and leaves the body fatigued.
Sure, it's a physical act.
But the psychological return on investment is massive. The release acts as a crucial pressure valve.
And the mechanism of that pressure valve is critical here. By allowing the material energy to dissipate naturally, the practitioner experiences a profound drop in ambient desires.
Like the background noise just stops.
Exactly. The intense psychological grip of craving is broken. The text asserts that this leads directly to a calm temper, an incredibly balanced mind, and a real surge in self-confidence.
Because you aren't fighting yourself anymore.
Exactly. Stripped of the distracting, hum-level anxiety of suppressed desire, the practitioner's perception finally clears. They develop a heightened capacity to genuinely appreciate the beauty of the world around them, completely untainted by internal conflict.
And the author just throws down a massive philosophical gauntlet here. He explicitly states there is absolutely zero scientific or empirical evidence proving that hoarding sexual energy transforms anyone into a celestial being.
None.
He just demystifies the entire concept, strips it of its esoteric aura, and treats it merely as excess material fuel that needs to be burned off.
Which is so refreshing, honestly. And this raises an important question regarding the fundamental nature of spiritual discipline itself.
How sad.
Well, for centuries, discipline has been conflated with deprivation.
Right. Suffering equals growth.
Exactly. We have assumed that the soul only grows when the body is punished or denied. But Sweffing is proposing a completely different paradigm, where true discipline is about managing your nature fluidly without attachment.
Letting things flow.
Yes. You release the physical energy specifically, so your consciousness is no longer tethered to it. The act of releasing it is what frees the mind to focus on higher dimensional realities. The hoarding of the energy was the anchor all along.
So we have systematically cleared the board. The practitioner has been instructed to stop hoarding financial wealth,
Yeah.
to abandon the accumulation of material goods, and to stop stockpiling physical and sexual vitality.
Right. The ego is starved, the pressure valves are released, the material anchors are cut.
So what does this all mean? What is the actual currency of this higher life space if everything we previously valued is deemed useless?
This is where it gets really beautiful. Having deconstructed the material framework, Sweffing introduces two specific, non-physical energies that a practitioner is mandated to actively accumulate.
Okay.
Spiritual energy and soul energy.
Spiritual and soul.
Right. This is where his philosophy shifts from a critique of asceticism to a highly pragmatic guide for elevation. But his definitions of these energies are surprisingly grounded.
Very grounded.
When discussing spiritual energy, He completely bypasses any mention of mystical auras or psychic phenomena or, isolated meditative trances.
Yeah, his definition of spiritual energy is entirely relational and environmental.
Exactly.
It consists of cultivating deep friendships, maintaining harmonious relationships with your immediate community, fostering a beautiful physical environment, and securing a peaceful, uncomplicated life.
It's all about connection.
It really is. It positions spiritual elevation not as the solitary achievement locked inside the practitioner's skull, but as a resonant frequency you establish with the world around you.
Yes.
You aren't escaping reality, you are harmonizing with it.
And the concept of soul energy is even more dynamic. The accumulation of soul energy requires active outward engagement.
Not just sitting in a cave.
Far from it. The text lists selfless contribution, the actual creation of labor and tangible value, the pursuit of joy, delightful experiences, and a persistent longing for a better life.
And there's one inclusion in this list that just completely shatters the ascetic stereotype.
Oh, I know the one you mean.
It's the explicit mandate to engage in romantic and affectionate interactions. He specifically cites flirting as a method of generating soul energy.
Which is incredible.
I mean, seeing the act of flirting positioned alongside selfless contribution as a high-level spiritual goal is a massive paradigm shift.
It really shakes up the whole system.
It does, but it makes perfect sense within his framework. Flirting, at its core, is a form of deep interpersonal play.
Yeah.
It is an unattached, joyful exchange of energy between two people. It completely subverts the rigid, self-serious, isolated posture of the traditional ascetic monk.
Right, because the text is literally stating that laughing, creating something with your hands, and sharing affectionate, playful moments with another human being, that is what generates the specific energetic frequency required for your consciousness to elevate.
It redefines the practitioner as someone deeply engaged with the vibrancy of life.
Yes, ascetic isolation is replaced with dynamic connection. You are converting your lived experiences into spiritual mass.
That's a great way to put it.
And, Suvang seems keenly aware that this framework is going to sound entirely unorthodox to traditional spiritual scholars.
Oh, he has to know.
He does. He anticipates the skepticism by closing his argument with a classical Chinese idiom. He says, "The spring river warms, and the ducks know it first."
I love that idiom so much. It is the ultimate defense of empirical mysticism.
It really is.
Like, you can spend decades debating the theoretical mechanics of energy accumulation, parsing ancient scriptures, and arguing over monastic codes, but the duck doesn't need to read a treatise on thermodynamics to know the river is warm.
Right. The duck is swimming in it.
Exactly. The idiom places the ultimate authority of truth squarely in the hands of the practitioner's own lived experience. If you implement a practice and it works, the debate is over.
It demands that you, the listener, become an active scientist in your own life.
Yeah.
If forced celibacy and extreme material hoarding make you irritable, anxious, and deeply disconnected from the beauty of the world, well, then the water is freezing and the methodology has failed, regardless of how ancient the tradition is. Right. Conversely, if releasing those rigid controls and focusing your efforts on building harmonious friendships, engaging in joyful labor, and fostering affection leads to profound inner peace, then the water is warm.
The evidence is the state of your own consciousness.
Exactly. What stands out to you about this list of spiritual goals?
I mean, it just strips away all the dogma and leaves you with pure cause and effect. It's so practical.
Highly practical.
So, to synthesize this journey, we began by examining our deep-seated instinct to stockpile our resources.
Right.
We explored how Sufeng dismantles the compulsion to build a fortress of material wealth, highlighting the severe risk of trapping ourselves in the complacency of the canine realm.
Perfectly content on a mountain of bone.
Exactly. We unpacked the profound paradox that our moments of ultimate clarity and ego dissolution often only arrive when our physical and material defenses are totally exhausted.
And then we analyzed the rigorous logical argument against the historical practice of repressing physical energy, detailing how forced deprivation generates immense cognitive dissonance. It basically turns the spiritual path into a battleground of suppressed desires, rather than an actual vehicle for transcendence.
And ultimately, we navigated the text's radical redefinition of spiritual wealth. We saw cold, isolated asceticism replaced with the warm, dynamic energies of joy, relational harmony, creative labor, and profound human connection.
It serves as a brilliant audit for your own life.
It really does. Look at the architecture of your daily routine. Are you meticulously expanding your mountain of bones, guarding your material energy at the expense of your own evolution?
Or are you actively generating the kind of soul energy that requires vulnerability, connection, and release?
It is a critical audit, particularly given the specific pressures of our contemporary environment, which leads directly into a final, lingering thought for you to carry with you after this deep dive concludes.
Hmm.
Because we exist in a cultural moment that is fiercely obsessed with biological optimization.
Oh, fiercely. It's everywhere.
We are constantly bombarded with methodologies designed to hack our nervous systems, maximize our daily output, and ensure our personal batteries never dip below optimal levels.
Right, we treat any form of depletion as a complete failure of routine.
Exactly. But if Yufeng's paradigm holds true, if the most profound spiritual clarity and the most authentic expressions of our humanity only surface when our material defenses are systematically starved and our energy is entirely drained, could our relentless modern obsession with maximizing our energy be the exact mechanism blinding us to our ultimate purpose?
That is a heavy question.
Are we so intensely focused on maintaining our armor that we have completely forgotten how to evolve beyond it?
Wow.
Keep that paradox in mind the next time you feel the desperate urge to hoard your resources. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.